We are by far living in a generation where human right is the most uplifted and prized values. Any violation of human right is deemed inhumane and quickly and readily put down. There is no question in the human conscience nor in the laws of any society that downplay the need for human right, whether it is the right to live, right to love, to say, or to do whatever we deem fit, as long as it doesn't violate the rights of another human being. So the abortionist says it is the right of the women to keep or terminate the life of the fetus. The LGBTQ says it is their right to love and to mate with whichever sex they desire. And the minorities always claim that because they are minorities, they should be given more rights. And we know that the recent Black Lives Matter in the States causes quite a stir because the black communities claim that their rights to equality has been violated. Now, what does it show here? Whether it's a race issue, gender issue, or legal issue, people quickly claim legitimacy from the word human rights. Yeah, as Christians, we are not against rights or liberties, but the question we intently want to ask is it truly rights we are after, or is it preferences? Have we conveniently disguised human preferences in the form of human rights? Now, when someone says, it is only my right, he did not consider the contradictory claims he is making. To abort a baby is a woman's right, but didn't that baby have the right to live also? Now, we have a new generation of people claiming same-sex marriage is the norm and it's their rights to love. And they claim that people who are against homosexual are homophobic and they are imposing their own belief or religion against them. Now, if we were to put religion aside, didn't natural law ethicists have for centuries argued that homosexual activities are immoral because it is plain unnatural? Didn't medical information tell us that sexually transmitted diseases are as high as 64 times more likely to be transmitted through anal penetration as compared to vaginal penetration? Now, didn't the natural reproductive system tell us that same-sex activities can never produce another human life? Now, as much as the sexual preferences of men wishes to take front seat, there is something natural that cannot be refuted. It's not even the Bible instruction to start with, but it is what God has imbued in the natural biological creation of man. There is something in the natural order of things that cannot be obliterated, no matter how we feel otherwise. Now, there is no end to the preferences of men, and it changes over time and culture. It could even be things as recent as the COVID-19, which deter people from physical gathering. As much as some people love to adopt online gathering as a new norm for church gathering, now that is far from the instruction of the Lord. Now, just as God gave us men different preferences so that we can glorify Him through our diversity and creativity, the fallen heart always wants to seek things that are far from the truths of God. And as soon as it does that, the fallen heart would want to disguise those preferences as human rights. It's my right to speech. It's my right to do this or that, they say. But the Bible pointed out the diseases of the human heart in Jeremiah 17. It says the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Genesis chapter 6 reiterates the fact that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. So if we trust our heart to make all the right decision and judgment about anything, we will only end up making all kinds of decision and judgment apart from the truth of God. As it is, human rights are only a facade for human preferences and wants. The human heart will neither be prompted nor be satisfied with obeying God. And this is where the world is heading now. So as Christians, how do we live in a world which increasingly pursue its preferences in the name of its rights? And I'm going to talk about two ways here. First, the Bible teaches us not to conform to it. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 tells us, as born again Christians, we should no longer conform to the patterns of this world. Instead, we should be transformed by the renewing of our mind, such that in whatever we do, we should intently seek the good and pleasing will of God. So before you readily agree to ideologies, the thought forms, the methodology that the world is feeding you with, before you embrace opinions, the trends or lifestyles or music or fashion which the world is presenting to you, cultivate yourselves to us. Is that pleasing in God's sight? Now, I saw many believers just accept the status quo of things. They accept abortion or IVF. Why? Because it had been legalized. They accept homosexuality because their gay friends insist it's their right and we should respect their choice. Or they gladly accept Christian living only as a Sunday activity while living the rest of the week for themselves. In church, sometimes they choose who they want to be with, who they will gladly ignore. I mean, now my brethren, this is not a right. That is fallen human preferences developed from a fallen human heart. And we must battle against it. What is the status quo for the world may not be so for us. And next, how do we live in a fallen world with fallen preferences? I would say take a firm stand against it. Don't be afraid to state your stand or opinion against issues that you don't agree with. Take a stand against abortion or same-sex marriage if you need to. Tell your fellow brethren about the need to go to church when they got comfortable with Zooming at home. Now, you may lose friends or popularity when you take a stand for the truth. It's inevitable. But you will strengthen your fellow brethren. You will encourage the truth abiders. Yes, you might invite some criticisms. You might even lose some friends. But you will gain better friends. And who knows, you will be able to convince those who are sitting on the fence or those who ignorantly follow the fallen world. Now, James chapter 4 says it clearly. Friendship with the world means enmity against God. Therefore, anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. My brethren, to be accepted by the world is so alluring. People have betrayed their conscience because they do not want to be ostracized by the world. Yet, the Bible has drawn the line clearly. Friend the world and you not be a friend of God. Yet, for the sake of the gospel, take a stand against the world and you'll never fail to see God standing on your side.